So today's title is These Players Could Be on the Move for the Washington Commanders at the trade deadline. So I'm taking it upon myself to take a look at the Washington Commanders roster as a whole and see if there's anybody on this roster that is worth trading. I know we talk about adding pieces to this team because we feel like we're a team that is ready to compete and ready to make a playoff run. But there's just some guys out here on this roster that are useless at this point that we could potentially get some type of draft capital for. So without further ado, let's get straight into today's video. Before we do, make sure you guys go down below, leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel if you are new, turn on post notifications so you get notified when I upload new videos like this to the channel. We want to roll to 8,000 subscribers, so that'd be greatly appreciated if you help me reach that goal as soon as possible. Thank you so much. Let's go ahead and get into today's video. So pulling up the roster now. Um, there are some guys on the roster that I could see getting shipped off. For the most part, we don't necessarily have a lot of pieces, but if Jonathan Allen didn't just get hurt, his name was big into the trade talks. I could definitely see Washington moving on from him, considering the fact that it's the lack of his production. He'll be 30 next year. We got Johnny Newton now. Fitzgerald Mathis is still here, and obviously Deron Payne. So I could have seen them moving on from him, but the fact that he's hurt out for the year, it's no use of that anymore. De'Ami Brown is a guy that has contributed. I don't think any offensive weapons will get moved. If I'll be honest with you, I think if anything, they would be some defensive pieces. But if there was a one receiver or somebody like that that I think would get moved, it probably would be De'Ami Brown. But I think we're in a position to where we're fine with what we have. Everyone is kind of contributing from Terry McLaurin down to Luke McCaffrey. So I wouldn't expect any movement to be done at the offense on the offensive side of the ball. But let's just say, for an example, a team out there feel like they can use De'Ami Brown. All right, give us a 6 for De'Ami, 5th for De'Ami. Then you can have him because at the end of the day, he is 24 years old. Yes, he is on his last year of his deal, so he'll be a free agent. So maybe it doesn't necessarily make any necessary sense to trade for him unless you feel like for example, when you're making this trade, you're going to re-sign him after this season. But again, he's not like a first-round pick, so he's not due a lot of money. But I don't see him going anywhere. But if there was an offensive guy that could be gone, it would be De'Ami Brown, in my opinion. You keep going down the list. Next guy would be Jamin Davis. Jamin Davis on the final year of his deal. Well, we didn't pick up his 5th-year option, so he's more likely not going to be a free agent. But he's one of the guys that I think could be on the move because he is literally being a healthy scratch. You're telling me he couldn't be no help to anybody in the NFL? Like, I know he probably isn't good. I know he isn't the first-round pick that we thought that they drafted him to be, but to be a healthy scratch week in and week out and really no use to this team, I think Adam Peters would be remiss and would be doing himself a disservice if he didn't try to offload Jamin Davis. The biggest thing with him, again, is that he is on the final year of his contract. So if you want Jamin Davis, you could get Jamin Davis next year in free agency because he's not going to be here in Washington. But if you needed some pass rushing help, if you needed some linebacker depth and you were hurt badly at that position at the moment and you're a team that is going to be competing for playoffs and possibly Super Bowl, you could use a Jamin Davis right now because he still is an athletic machine. He's still a guy that isn't afraid to play hard. That's one thing about Jamin Davis. I don't think he is afraid to play hard. He plays hard. He just isn't talent enough at this point. And the regime, they see this. They see that he is really no use to this team. That's why he doesn't play. Next, you got Michael Davis. Michael Davis, really disappointing for me, in my opinion, because I remember back in the summertime, a lot of people would try to talk to me about Michael Davis and tell me how he could be the starting corner opposite of Benjamin St-Juste, and this guy hasn't seen the field all season long, so I don't necessarily know what his value would be. I don't think he's worth trading at this point because at the end of the day, although he isn't doing anything for us, you still rather have that body than not have that body. And it's not like he's Jamin Davis where he's being healthy scratched or he's on the physical or he's not playing. He's still suiting up. He's just not getting in the game, and you need that cornerback depth, especially without room being as lackluster as it is now. So yeah. Then the next guy would be Emmanuel Forbes. I think Emmanuel Forbes could be on the trade block. I know a lot of people are like, well, who wants Emmanuel Forbes at this point? I think there's a team out there that could use him. I think there's a team out there that could potentially get the best out of him. And look, man, at the end of the day, I want the best for Emmanuel Forbes. I don't want him to be bad. I don't want him to not play. I want him to play. It's just unfortunately not here. He is constantly a healthy scratch. If he's not a healthy scratch, he's not getting but 4 snaps a game. So clearly, we want nothing to do with this guy. So he is a first round pick. You can use that to your advantage. You can say he's only 2 years into his contract, so whoever trades for him doesn't have to pay him for the next 3 years, and you don't have to pick up his 5th year option if you don't want to. I think that is a good opportunity for someone out there, like a team that needs cornerback help or a team that has cornerback starters, but they could use the depth, like a Seattle or somewhere across the league that has 2 good corners, but they need depth pieces. I think Emmanuel Forbes would be a good fit for someone out there because again, it'd be different if he was suiting up for us. It'd be different if he was playing for us. We don't even use him, y'all. He doesn't suit up, and if he does, he's getting 3 snaps, 4 snaps. So why not try to offload him? He's a first round pick for not for a reason, but he's a first round pick. So he had some interest across the league. I'm pretty sure there were many teams during the draft process that wanted Emmanuel Forbes. Um, so hey, look, you could send him somewhere, get maybe a 5th round pick for him, a conditional 6 that could be a 5th, or hell, maybe you could fleece a team for a 4th or something like that. But I do think Emmanuel Forbes is a guy that you look to offload at the deadline, and he's probably at the top of my list because I think he has some interest across the league. I read an article where he was tied to the Baltimore Ravens. I don't know how true that is, but I could definitely see Emmanuel Forbes being gone by the deadline. Next up, you have Derek Forrest. Derek Forrest is a guy for me a little disappointing. He hasn't really done much this season. He was a healthy scratch all at the beginning of the seasons. He just had to step up recently due to injury. But he's a guy that's typically a healthy scratch too. Doesn't really play. So I don't know if we would send him somewhere else where he can play out his final year of his deal. Uh, Derek Forrest really just isn't no use unless it's special teams. He's not really that good as a safety. I like him down by the line of scrimmage though because he is aggressive. He is physical. But as a covering safety over top, since 2022, I haven't seen that Defoe return. I don't know what happened to him. He was injured all last season for real, and on this season he doesn't play unless he has to due to injury, and that's really just special teams. So it's not really like any meaningful snaps in a sense. So Defoe's another guy that could get up out of here, to be honest with you. And as I continue to go down the list, that might be the only few guys that we have um, that that are worth trading or at least putting up on a block to see what they're worth. Obviously, Tyler Owens isn't playing because injury, so that's why Defoe is playing in. But Defoe could be a guy that could draw interest across the league because maybe someone else could use him better. But for the most part, y'all, we don't necessarily have too many guys that could be on the trade block. Even if this season wasn't headed up in the proper way and wasn't headed up in the positive trajectory that it is in, we really don't have many guys besides like 4 guys, and some of those 4 guys may not even be as tradable as I think they are. So it makes sense that we're buyers because we do have a lot of pieces that we need to upgrade on this roster. So I'm glad our season is headed the way we are headed the way it is, and hopefully it continues to go in the trajectory that we want it to go. I'm talking playoffs and potentially Super Bowl because that way we are adding stuff at the deadline instead of selling. But I just wanted to come on here quickly to see is there anything that we offer on this roster that other teams could may use at the deadline. So I'm glad I could do this experience with you all. Hope you liked this video. If you did, leave it down below in the comment section. Like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Let me guess who you would trade if you was in charge of this Washington Commanders team, or if you would stand pat and be buyers only at the deadline. As always, me and boy Juan Gotti. Don't forget to use my promo code Juan Gotti on SeatGeek to get $20 off your first purchase. Have a blessed one. Stay safe. Be easy. Peace.